Hi everyone! Today we're going to make paper mache nests and eggs. You'll need your glue that you made, and parents, if you didn't see, there was a link for that on the Google Doc for the recipe for how to make this. It'll just take you about 10 minutes. Make sure it's nice and cool before you start using it, and you can start watching this video while it's cooling down. It won't take very long. You'll also need a bowl. Any size bowl will do. It's going to be the shape of your nest. And then you'll need a piece of tin foil that's at least big enough to cover up your bowl. And you will need paper. So I used some scrap paper and some newsprint. And I like to have two different kinds of paper so that you can see the different layers to make sure that you got a full layer. But if you only have one kind of paper, that's fine too. You can use computer paper, any kind of paper that you can find lying around the house. And then if you'd like to add color to your nest and your eggs, you can use some colored tissue paper, or you can wait until it's dry and then you can paint them. Alright, so to get started, we're going to take your tin foil and put it over the bowl and press it down over the bowl. It will be sticking out like this. You can just go ahead and tuck all those sides in. You can also do this with plastic wrap if you don't have tin foil, just to protect your bowl from the glue so that you can easily peel it off when you're all done. Okay, you should have something that looks like this when you're all done. Now we'll get ready to tear up your paper. So I'm going to keep my newspaper separate from my white paper so that I can make separate layers out of them. And I'm just going to start tearing it into strips. And then after you have some strips, you can tear those into squares. I like them to be about this size, but you can choose however large or small you'd like. I'll do the same thing with my white paper. I already had some torn up, so you'll probably need to tear up more than just a few pieces. So you can always pause the video and then you can tear up some more. if you're going to use tissue paper, you can go ahead and tear that up now too. It'd be nice to have it all ready. It's kind of fun to have these in different shapes. So they will be the color and the pattern on your nest. So you can do long strips or little tiny pieces, however you want. Okay, so now we've got all of our materials prepared. Like I said, you can pause the video and keep on ripping until you have plenty of paper to work with. Then we can take our bowl and our paintbrush and we coat it with glue. If you'd like to get really messy, you can do this with your hands too. It's kind of fun that way. So put a nice thick coat of glue all over your bowl. Okay, and then we can start adding our layers. So I'm going to start with my scrap paper. And I'm just going to put a few pieces on. Make sure that they're overlapping each other. And then I'm going to paint over them with glue. You want to make sure that the glue gets really soaked in through your paper. So you can put a lot of glue on there. And then you just keep adding. Make sure that you can't see any of the foil after you've covered this with your white paper. It's okay if it sticks off the side like that. We'll take care of that when it dries. Oops. Don't be afraid to use too much glue. It will help make your nest nice and strong. almost done with my first layer. Okay, so I've completely covered the bowl. I don't see any foil. So now I'm going to do my next layer with newspaper. And I want to try and cover up all the white. Again, I'm overlapping the pieces. That will make it so strong. Then I'm painting. It's a lot of hard work to make a nest. I wonder how long it takes a bird. Okay, got my second layer on. I don't see any white paper underneath my newspaper. You're gonna wanna do another 3 to 5 layers like this, alternating. So you'll do a layer of white and a layer of newspaper, a layer of white and a layer of newspaper, if you have both kinds of paper. You want to do that 3, 4, or 5 more times. The more paper you put on, the stronger your nest is going to be. And once you get to the end, if you decide that you wanted to color it with tissue paper, you can start putting that on now. And you just put that on the same way that you did the newspaper. So I really like the newspaper showing, so I'm gonna just leave some of that showing, and I'm gonna put colors over the top of it, and you can see right through the tissue paper. Don't forget to paint over it. That will help it stay down really well. Okay. So after you have all of your layers on there, you're gonna need to let it dry until tomorrow. And that way, it'll get nice and hard, and then you can pull it off your bowl. Another thing that we can do now is make our eggs. So you can take a piece of newspaper and crumble it up. If you wanted to add more newspaper to it to make a bigger egg, you could do that. I'm gonna make 3 eggs. So I'm gonna crumble up 3 pieces of newspaper. I'm gonna squeeze them really tight. And then you can go ahead and dip it in your glue. This part's really messy. So you can dip it in your glue and then squeeze it to make your ball even tighter. And then you can take your ripped up pieces of newspaper or white paper, whichever you have left, and you can just add it on top to make it a little bit more secure so your ball doesn't pop open. I have enough glue on my fingers that I don't need to add any more. But if you don't have enough on your fingers, then you can paint it on, or you can dip your fingers in the glue to get some more. Okay, 1 egg. Again, we'll dip it in the glue. Squeeze it all together. And then cover it with scraps. And the more scraps you add, the bigger your egg will get. So if you wanted your egg to be bigger, you can just keep adding scraps to it. Okay, and the last egg. Dip it in the glue. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then add your scraps. Okay, so we'll let these dry until tomorrow. And I'll show you what the finished nest looks like and how to get it off of your bowl. So here's my finished nest. It's got some paper around the edges. I'm going to go ahead and pull the foil out to open it up, and then you can pull the bowl out. So the inside will look like this. You can see this has kind of a hard shell on it, even without the bowl in there. So that means it's nice and dry and ready to take the inside out. So you can carefully peel out the foil. And then your bowl will look like this. That glue inside there is still going to be pretty wet. So we'll have to let that dry again before we put anything else inside. Now I'm just going to go ahead and tuck all of my loose edges inside, and it will stick to the glue that's still wet. You can also just cut them off if you'd rather do that. And there we have our finished nest. And then I've got my eggs. And I decided to paint my eggs instead of color them with tissue paper. So you'll need a paintbrush and any kind of paint that you have. I found this really pretty blue color at my house, so I'm going to paint them blue. Okay, so there are my eggs and my nest, and I'm going to let the eggs dry again overnight. And then next week, we're going to make a bird to go inside your nest. So you'll have a complete nest. I hope you have fun with making your nests. We'll see you next week.